Ricardo Martinez is a character from Hajime no Ippo who, despite only being shown and mentioned a few times throughout the story, is well known to the show's followers. He is known as the best featherweight boxer in the show, currently unbeaten with 70 wins and 0 losses. This is a big deal because our main character, Ippo Makinuchi, is also a featherweight. So there will definitely come a time when the two of them will face each other in the ring. His home country is Mexico, where he is extremely popular. It was even said in the manga that he is more known to the people there than their own president. Wherever he goes in their country, he is cheered on by everyone, similar to the popularity of Pacquiao. But what is Ricardo Martinez like outside of the ring? Well, he is a quiet person, not much of a talker. But when it comes to the ring, that's a different story. He has beaten Date twice, and in both fights, Date was severely beaten. When he had a sparring match with Ippo, he only used jabs and easily knocked him out. We will discuss every aspect of his character in this video, so make sure to watch until the end to find out just how epic Ricardo is. When Ricardo was a child, he dreamed of becoming strong. He grew up in the mountains of Mexico and came from a family of mountain workers. His environment as he grew up played a significant role in shaping the person and fighter he is today. One day, when he was a child, he met his coach, Bill Stewart, while holding a pair of boxing gloves. He approached Bill and asked him a simple question: "What does it feel like to be strong?" That question marked the beginning of Ricardo's journey into the world of boxing. Under Bill's guidance, he started training and built up his boxing skills. But here's the amazing part: Ricardo didn't just become a boxer, he became the best boxer of his generation. At the age of 21, he became the WBA featherweight champion with a long win streak and a very high knockout percentage. Gradually, he became known not just in Mexico, but all around the world, and is considered a living legend in the world of Hajime no Ippo. His record of 70 wins, 66 knockouts, and no losses speaks for itself. Because of his achievements, his name is often associated with the word victory. In Mexico, he is hailed as a national hero. He has faced many strong opponents, such as Date, Gonzalez, and Wally, but in the end, he always comes out as the winner. We could even say that Ricardo's story is a rags to riches tale. From the mountains of Mexico to the worldwide boxing ring, and it all started with a young boy who just wanted to know what it feels like to be strong. As I mentioned earlier, Ricardo is a quiet person, but behind his calm demeanor is a true competitor and someone with a passion for boxing. He is not like the typical boxers who have reached such a status. He is not loud and boastful. He doesn't show off or seek attention outside the ring. His calm and respectful nature stands out, especially towards his fellow boxers. He has great respect for Date and Wally because of their strength and determination in the ring. For him, respect is earned and not given. But there is also something important to note. Even though he is at the peak of success in boxing, he often feels lonely. Why? Because he is so skilled that he has a hard time finding a challenge. He is always searching for an opponent who can push him to his limits. A boxer who can get his blood boiling in the ring, but that is not easy to find for him. After 70 matches, the manga says that Ricardo has not struggled in any fight, and he has not yet reached his full potential. When it comes to boxing, people who don't really follow the sport might say it's all about strong punches and footwork. But we know that it's not just that simple. Boxing is also known as the sweet science, and if you search online, you'll find many explanations for that. There's so much you need to learn and master if you want to be successful, especially at the world level. Technique and strategy are required, along with strength, speed, and more. Of course, there are specialties in boxing. Some are hard punchers, some have fast hands, some have great footwork, and others are good at defense and counters. But when it comes to Ricardo Martinez, it's like his stats are maxed out in everything. If you're playing career mode in a video game, it's like he's been given a 100 in everything. He's the example of a complete boxer. Let's talk about his boxing abilities. First, his jabs. His jabs are incredibly fast and unpredictable. People say it's almost impossible to see them coming. It's like lightning when you face it in the ring. But it's not just Ricardo's jabs that stand out. His defense is like a wall that can't be knocked down. No matter how many times he's hit, you don't see any damage on him. When it comes to his stamina, it's the same. Even if he throws a lot of punches, you won't see him getting tired easily. Well, most of his fights only last a few rounds, and out of his 70 fights, only 4 have gone to a decision. Now let's talk about his fighting style. Naturally, his style is that of a slugger, meaning he likes to get up close to his opponents, not just run around the ring. But he's not just a simple brawler. His boxing IQ and strategic planning are also high. He knows when it's the right time to attack and defend. And if he needs to change his strategy in the middle of the fight, he can adjust instantly. I mean, his record speaks for itself. 70 wins with 66 knockouts, no losses or draws. And he's done it all effortlessly. The combination of speed, power, defense, and intelligence has really set him up as a force to be reckoned with. He's like the overpowered final boss of an anime, and our protagonist, Ippo, will need all of his training arcs and development to match him. Now, I've mentioned that Ricardo has had 70 matches, but in reality, only a handful of those fights have been shown to us. However, that is enough to establish just how monstrous this character truly is. Let's briefly talk about those fights. First, let's discuss his fights with Eiji Date. We all know Eiji Date, the first boxer to give Ippo a loss in his professional boxing career. They fought twice. In the first fight, Date suffered a brutal TKO loss, which is where he got the scar on his nose. Years later, Date had a chance to redeem himself. By then, he was more experienced and had a higher boxing IQ. However, even in their rematch, it was clear that Ricardo was the superior boxer, winning without any injuries or scratches on his face. At the end of the fight, out of respect for Date's unbreakable spirit, Ricardo hit him with his full power, resulting in a broken jaw that forced Date into retirement. At that point, Date was the most feared featherweight boxer in Japan. But when he faced Ricardo, he was turned into a punching bag. Speaking of punching bags, what about Ricardo's sparring match with Ippo? Ricardo dominated and knocked out Ippo in the first round using just jabs. He even effortlessly dodged Ippo's signature move, the Dempsey roll. Ricardo is on another level. But of course, Ippo Makinuchi today is different from back then. You can watch my other videos to see that. A similar thing happened with Billy McCallum, a WBC featherweight champion known for his Philly shell defense. But just like with Ippo, Ricardo crushed McCallum in the first round and won by knockout. I don't even know why Ricardo hasn't unified all the belts in the division, like the IBF and WBO, considering how far above the other champions he is. Anyway, so far in the story, the most exciting and challenging match we've seen Ricardo in was against Wally. For those who haven't read the manga up to this point, when Ippo fought Wally, he was a newbie boxer with just 4 matches under his belt. But even with little experience, he gave Ippo a hard time. However, the version of Wally that faced Martinez was a skilled prodigy coming off a 20-plus fight win streak and feared worldwide. Wally had trouble finding sparring partners because they would all give up after just a few rounds with him. In this fight, for the first time in the manga, we saw Ricardo get damaged to the point of bleeding. Wally landed several punches that shocked everyone watching. For once, the Invincible champion had met a worthy challenge, and Ricardo enjoyed every second of it. In the end, though, Wally lost by knockout and retired due to injuries. It's amazing how Ricardo fights. After a match, there's a chance you might retire. But even with all these wins and his monstrous record, Ricardo is now facing a different challenge, the challenge of finding a worthy opponent. He says it's lonely at the top. He continues to dream of a challenging opponent who can push him to his limits. That's his internal struggle. And I think, in the end, that opponent will be our protagonist, Ippo Makinuchi. But at this point in the story, Ricardo still reigns supreme in the manga, along with Takamura. They are the most monstrous boxers in the series. Did you like this video and want to get to know the other characters in Hajime no Ippo better? Just comment below who you would like me to feature next.